Dart School presents Basic Units. A physical quantity can be measured in several different units. For example, we can measure time in seconds or minutes or perhaps hours or even days or weeks and so on. We need different units because the quantities we measure can vary widely in their size. For example, you would probably measure the length of a room in meters, but you need a larger unit, let's say kilometers, to measure the distance between two cities. And in this video, we're going to talk about the different units and their conversion factors, how to change from one to the other, of length, of mass, and of volume. One of the smallest units of length is the millimeter, denoted as mm, and if you combine 10 of those millimeters, what you get is a centimeter. Similarly, 100 centimeters add up to give you 1 meter. And then 1000 of these meters together add up to give you what we know as 1 kilometer. So on this list of units, the millimeter is the smallest and the kilometer is the largest. If you want to change a kilometer or a larger unit for that matter to a smaller unit, you need to multiply with the power of 10, because a certain number of larger units will contain more number of the smaller units, so you multiply. On the other hand, if you want to convert a smaller unit to something that's larger than that, you want to divide with the power of 10. One of the smallest units of mass is called the milligram, denoted as mg. And if you take 1000 of these, what you get is a gram. And if you take 1000 grams, that makes up 1 kilograms or 1 kg. And similarly, 1000 kilograms, it's a huge mass, is as much as 1 ton. So obviously on this list, the ton is the largest unit and the milligram is the smallest unit. A common unit of measuring volume is the milliliter, ml, and if you take 1000 of them, what you get is called 1 liter. Let's try out some problems. Let's say we want to change 3.2 meters to a certain number of centimeters. So the question is 3.2 meters is how many centimeters? Now if you look here, the conversion factor between the centimeter and the meter is 100. 100 centimeters is the same as 1 meter. So obviously the meter is the larger length. And if you want to change a meter to a certain number of centimeters, you are expecting a larger value. And therefore, you're going to multiply this with 100. It's very easy to multiply and divide numbers with powers of 10. All you need to do is move the decimal point 2 places over to the right. So you have 3.2. You move it 2 places over to the right. Put a 0 if required. So the answer is 320. 3.2 meters is the same as 320 centimeters. Let's try and change 2368 meters to a certain number of kilometers. Once again, if you look up over here, the conversion factor between meters and kilometers is 1000. And because we want to change a meter, which is a smaller unit, to a kilometer, which is a larger unit, we are expecting an answer that's less than this number. and therefore we are going to divide this number with 1000. And how do you divide a number with 1000? It's very easy. You just move the decimal point. The decimal point on 2368 is right in the end. So you could just say this is the same as the decimal number 2368.0. So you move the decimal point 3 places over to the left, and therefore this becomes 2.368 kilometers. Let's try one from mass. Let's say we want to change 275 milligrams to a certain number of kilograms. Now if you look where milligrams is and where kilograms is on this chart, you don't have a direct relationship between a milligram and a kilogram. But all we know is, if you want to change a certain number of milligrams to a certain number of grams, the number comes down and the conversion factor is 1000, so you divide that with 1000 to get the equivalent number of grams. And then from grams to kilograms, you still have another factor of 1000. And once again, because a kilogram is the larger unit, you would expect a smaller answer, so you divide with 1000. So effectively, when you are trying to jump from a certain number of milligrams to a certain number of kilograms, you are dividing by 1000 and then you are dividing by 1000 again, which means you are dividing by 1000 times 1000. So we need to divide the number of milligrams with a million. One followed by 3 zeros on this one and another 3 zeros on this one. That's 1 million. And when we do that, the division is not difficult. 275, the decimal point is right in the end. You want to divide that with 1 followed by 6 zeros, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Like I said, that's 1 million. All you need to do is move the decimal point 6 places over to the left. So if you move 3 places, it comes and sits here. That's not enough. So you add 3 more zeros and the decimal point is right over here. So 275 milligrams is only as small as 0.000275 kilograms. That's how we convert between different units.